The following audio may contain coarse language and other material that may not be suitable for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, we may spoil anything and everything, so you have been warned.
Hello and welcome to Save Point Podcast, the podcast for Dustin's Shed Media, where we talk video games and probably not only video games, but we try to stay on point as best we can. With me today, as always, is Jack Newman.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
And Peter Dancy.
What's up, everybody?
And I am Ben Howard. So, first things up, we will talk about what we've been playing this week. Peter, what have you been playing this week?
This week, I have been playing Pokemon Go, which the world seems to be playing right now.
Which we will be discussing, I shall say, at the end.
So,
that's our big topic this week.
So I'll kind of leave that alone for now.
But tell us just a bit about your Pokemon Go experiences.
It's been fun. Especially because I wasn't able to Pokemon was one of the many things that I wasn't allowed to really do or interact with as a child. So yes, I played Pokemon X. Pokemon Y actually when it came on 3DS. But to be able to play the game on my phone and just be able to walk around and flick a Pokeball at a Pokemon that is quote unquote in front of me, it's been fun. Yeah, I think my most powerful Pokemon right now is a Golbat that I caught literally this morning walking from my car from the parking lot to work. So that was great.
Nice.
And another game I've been playing this week is I have been reconnecting with my 3DS game Animal Crossing New Leaf.
How mean were they that you had you played it before, and if so, how mean were they that you'd been gone for so long?
I got the game like maybe a month or so after it was originally released, and I played it religiously, more or less, basically every day for at least 30 minutes or so for a solid 7 months, and then I just kind of fell off and would kind of go back to it every now and then. And when I fired it up the other day, this past I think Thursday, it was that was the first time me turning on that game in at least a year. And the first thing Isabella said to me, she was like, "Hello, Mayor. We've missed you. You've been gone for quite a while. I've been keeping up the town as best I could in your absence." And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Those games are the first I seem to recall, at least as a kid, that just were made you feel like a dick. Those and Tamagotchis and stuff like that have those memories were oh, I know it's an addiction method, but it works.
Right. At the very least, one of the biggest things I regret about having not played it in so long is that I have missed the changing of the seasons in my town. I missed seeing summer turn to fall to winter to spring to now, and I've missed holidays. So I mean, if anything, that'll be one reason for me to play the game somewhat consistently from now on, so I can see all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's fun. I feel like those kind of simulator things, it's hard to keep up with them, and
Mm-hmm.
they punish you the most for not doing them.
Yeah, exactly.
especially I remember when Fable had Fable 3 had all the stuff where it would based on time it would move. Oh no, it's Fable 2. I think Fable 3 tried to fix it and failed at it, but I don't remember the specific story. But Fable 2 would have this, you would come back and it's your properties would earn gold over time, and you could just reset the clock on whatever console it was on to fuck it up, so that you had an infinite source of gold. And as soon as I figured that out, the game was just essentially broken for me. But it's funny to me when games attempt to tell reality and try to interact with that, because it's just universally usually for me is a fail. In terms of I want a game experience I can jump into, and you want me to wait by seasons. I'm no, I'm not gonna. I don't have the fucking time to commit to Like, what game have you spent all year playing? Like, seriously.
Right. I think it's the thing. It's like at a certain point, you're like, it's like family almost. You're like, am I doing this just to fulfill some kind of obligation? I remember when I was playing sort of similar, where it's like, it sounds cool until it happens to you, kind of thing. Where like I was playing Metal Gear Solid 3, the one, that's the one. And there's
the best one.
There's
the
a
best
famous,
one.
It's fantastic, and there's a famous boss battle with a sniper, and you have this big open world. There's tons of different ways to beat it, and there's kind of a clever thing where if you're in that area and you turn the game off, and it's like longer than like maybe 12 hours or something, you die, and you have to start all over again. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I heard about that online. And then I forgot about it, and guess what happened? And I was like, this feature is bullshit, and it's dumb, and I hate it. It is one of those things like, is this better on paper or not? I don't know sometimes. Because you have that warm feeling sometimes from Animal Crossing to come back, but then you also are like, just let me go home. I'm going to be somewhere else. All right. And Jack, what have you been playing?
All right, so I have a bone to pick with things like, because this is something that I've been attempting to do now. So I have recently, my greatest gaming accomplishment, or the one that I see as my greatest gaming accomplishment, is beating Bloodborne and beating Dark Souls 3. Now let me take that back, because everyone's gonna freak out, because like I don't play them to completion. I beat the levels. I don't fuck with the Chalice dungeons. I mean, no. Hardcore Dark Souls 3 fans are like, you haven't beat the game. Fuck off. like
I beat it with the drums and fucking Guitar Hero. Yeah, exactly.
No. I know. I was like, have you beat it with the Donkey Kong drums? You're not even playing yet.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't like torture things.
Yeah, I know.
Have you beat it with like Kinect controls? Fuck you.
Literally impossible.
Literally, I mean, but somehow still there's a video of it happening on the internet.
Of course.
Like, I think the issue is like, but it is like a very, very difficult game. It's one of my claims to fame. But the thing is, like, I got in on the Bloodborne train. I started at Dark Souls 2. I didn't really play Dark Souls 2. I had the initial, Dark Souls experience where you jump into a game and you're like, wow, this is terrible and super hard. Why the fuck am I going to do this? And then it just goes away and you say, okay, cool, whatever. And then I went on to get Bloodborne, and that's where I really got hooked. And I played all the way through Bloodborne and played the Bloodborne DLC, and now I finished Dark Souls 3. So I've gone around and been told I need to do Dark Souls 1. So I'm playing Dark Souls 1 right now. And let me just say, like, the story in Dark Souls 1 is better, I will say that, but fuck me, is all the improvements not a helping hand.
Right.
Like, it was funny.
Right.
When I started Dark Souls 3, people were like, oh, dude, it's got such an easier difficulty curve. It's great. It's great. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And now I'm like, oh, that's right. Like, I've never seen a difficulty spike in the level of the insanity that is Dark Souls 1.
Yes.
Just like, it's just like a goddamn wall. And it's funny, too, because even as somebody who is coming from, like, Dark Souls experience, and I like Bloodborne, but like I immediately liked Dark Souls 3's mechanics, and I still like Dark Souls 3's mechanics the most. But I understand, like, having watched Vavendi and all the other guys, like, I really want to go back and understand the history of Dark Souls so I can understand and actually form an opinion about its lore. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the lore in Dark Souls 3 is not nearly as good as 1. So I'm playing through it right now. Slow going. It's painful. It's super
Very
painful.
I'm sure.
It's super painful. I gotta beat it, apparently, to like even be able to talk about this. Like, people are gonna get mad that I just
You started it, yeah. You said it on air.
Like, now people are like, now like you guys have to like get on me. It's like, hey, Jack, you beat Dark Souls yet? I'm like, no.
It's like when your friend tells you he's going to start writing a novel. It's like, oh no, you got to finish that novel now, buddy.
If you have a friend who tells you that they're going to do Nano Remo in November, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be keeping up with you. Like, have you gotten to your word count for the day?
Well, Trevor, oh my God, you should do that with me, because Trevor and me have done it the last 3 years, and we're terrible at keeping each other on track. So there's no novels to show from NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, maybe I will do that. We'll remind each other
oh my God, that would be such a great thing, and we should do a NaNoWriMo podcast, because I don't have enough goddamn podcasts.
Yeah, podcasts.
Yeah, let's add another one to our collective.
I'm gonna write a 50,000 word literotica novel during NaNoWriMo.
Oh God,
I can read it. It's based upon like an orgy literotica based upon this podcast, and just
oh no,
it's gonna be great. I'm so excited. Y'all should just read it, and it's just like softcore porn of all of us It's like, or it's fan fiction, so it's adapted porn.
Goodness gracious.
Well, this is the last episode.
But you know that you'll know. Don't worry, you'll know who Dieter Pansy is.
I wonder who. I'll never guess.
Dieter Pansy slipped. Oh, okay, let's not go there. All
Yeah,
right,
Ben,
what have you been
right
doing?
now?
Playing a horrible movie in my mind.
Stop the movie and move on
I'm
immediately.
trying. I played a bunch, which is probably bad because I'm moving tomorrow. I just managed to pack everything, so at least didn't waste too much of my time. So, thankfully. But at one point, I was basically like, oh, shit. I've been just playing video games and not doing what I'm supposed to do. So I played a bunch. I'll talk mostly about just one game, so I don't hog everything. But the first thing I played was Pony Island. I mentioned this last time. That's a game I got for like $3 on Steam sale, and it's the perfect $3 Steam sale game. You see it on Steam sale, add it to your wish list. Whenever it's on sale, get it, because I think it's awesome. Super short, only like 2 or 3 hours. I don't really want to explain it. Basically, you're a guy in front of a computer. Kind of involves like old school gaming as well as sort of hacking ideas that are really clever. Gameplay sounds super intricate, but the story's great, and that's what I really recommend. And I don't want to spoil anything, because the great thing about it is the reveal of what's happening. Very kind of clever use of like a terrible video game as a genre idea. And it's sort of interesting because it's like about a terrible video game, but it's still fun to play, which is a weird kind of thing, hard to do. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, just definitely check out Pony Island. The other thing I've been playing is I heard that Red Dead Redemption was going to be on Xbox One. I love Red Dead Redemption, but I don't have an Xbox 360 anymore. And so I was like, great. I wanted to revisit this game for a long time. I'm loading it, and it's taking forever. So I picked up a game I played very briefly. Didn't think much of, but I was like, well, I know you'd kind of play a few levels, and then whatever happens, I can get away. And that was Rayman Legends. I heard this game's amazing. I got it for free through Xbox Gold. And I was like, I played the first steps. And then I got to the first music level, Rayman Legends. And I realized Rayman Legends is the fucking best platformer that has been made in years. And I was a total freaking idiot. Because that game is amazing. And I feel like it's an idiot for being like... It's like being that guy who's like 5 years after Nevermind came out, be like, you ever heard this Nirvana band? It's great. Like, it's... Like, I know I'm so late to this party, but it is so...
No, dude, Rayman, and let me just say right now that Rayman on the Vita, like I know, like no one should actually buy a Vita, and if you don't own one right now, but if you do own a Vita, get Rayman on the Vita, because that is probably one of my favorite gaming experiences I've ever seen. I actually don't even own a Vita. I borrowed my Vita because my friend had Rayman on it. I was like, oh, I don't really want to buy it for PS4. I'll just borrow it and like get through Rayman, and that shit was addictive, and he didn't get his Vita back for like a month. Like that was like he just didn't get his Vita back for almost like half a year because it was obsessive. No, I mean, well, more to the point, like it only took me a month to beat like that game,
right.
But then it just sat in my house forever.
But then if you give it back, you can play the game whenever you want to.
Right. I mean, it's just like collecting games. Like Ben, I think I still have your Professor Layton game.
Oh, do you?
From college.
I only played those once through, so that's fine.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It has nothing to do with me attempting to keep a Professor Layton game so much as just like it was too much trouble to get it back to you.
That's fine. I don't replay Professor Layton games just because I don't know those puzzles.
They're all the same damn puzzles, but that's a different day's discussion.
Yeah, but it's so good. It's very impressive to me the way they perfectly thought out every jump, every kind of move, every single. And it's definitely the case with like the music levels, but
the music levels are probably one of my favorite gaming experiences.
They're fantastic, but I think especially comparing it to playing Super Meat Boy, which I do like, it's just a difficult game that has a lot more fun to me. There's a lot more joy in playing it.
This game is so much better than Super Meat Boy, and I realize that Super Meat Boy is probably like people will hate us for that because they probably think Super Meat Boy has a much deeper level of like architecture and what's happening on and mechanics to it, and I probably agree with that. I think Super Meat Boy is a more difficult game and has a deeper level of difficulty, but I think Rayman, like in terms of games that I've had fun with, there's no question, no fucking question.
It's just a joy. I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
I want that perfect level of challenge and joy. And I played one level of Rayman, like 100 different deaths on it. One of those ones you run up a wall the entire time.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but for me, but It was perfect, and I was happy to do it. Whereas Super Meat Boy, I died 10 times. I'm done.
Which is I think getting older for me is like I'm like what's the perfect gaming experience for me now as opposed to like 10 years ago. I think it is two incredibly different things. Like when I was a kid, it was Kingdom Hearts. Like I'm not gonna lie to that. It was Kingdom Hearts at one time.
Yep.
I don't think it is anymore. I really don't because I don't think I have the time. I mean, I definitely don't have the time to play fucking Dark Souls, but you know here we fucking are. So I don't know what the fuck's my problem.
I don't know either, man. And then once I got past Rayman Legends and I beat that, I did end up playing some Red Dead Redemption, and it's a very weird port. It's probably, in fact, just a pure emulation, I kind of guess, because there's a lot of weird like elements that are completely different from what I remember. And be sure to go in our game glitches or something like that, because there's tons of weird glitches from this emulation, but it's still fun to go back. It's frustrating because you want them to see you to put that energy into the PC release, I think is everyone does, but it's still a great game. It's got good characters, good setting. Man, we need more Old West games. It's just a really fun genre to mess around with.
Did you ever play Gun?
I did.
I fucking love Gun.
Was fun.
I mean, I admit that Red Dead Redemption's a better game, but I have a weird tied-in video game memories of Gun being like, this is an amazing game. And it's funny because Red Dead Redemption is just like more open world elements added into Gun, even though Gun has a lot more hinkiness to it because it's not nearly as well produced a game. But I'll never forget Gun. It's funny to me. I have more memories of playing Gun than I do of Red Dead Redemption.
Right. Like there's certain, mine was like Abe's Oddworld, Abe's Odysseys. That's the 3D one. Like,
yeah.
You put me in a good Western setting, I'm gonna remember it.
Yeah,
there's something about that setting with games that just gives you a lot of openness. It makes more sense that there's not that many people. Like you don't have to. Yeah. When you go through like Grand Theft Auto, you're like, this New York City's not very populated, But like you're only in the West, it makes sense. And there's like sort of the way you play those games kind of makes sense to me in a Western setting.
Yeah, and I think that's I like this. Clearly, no one dislikes the story of Red Dead Redemption, and it's open world, so it's very, very different. But like, I think I like the style of Gun, and that it's much more like it's much more revengey and kind of pulpy and Tarantino-y because it's like it's all bullshit. I mean, it's terrible graphics. It's a PS2 game, so I mean, it's fun time. There are times when I go back and look at old PS2 graphics and I like prefer them, not because they're like worse, but because they are worse. Like there's some weird things. Like I go back and look at the character models from like Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Oh god, I play the game so much.
Oh my god.
I see those old character models and it's so nostalgic for me. He's literally like there are parts of his body like his head is just like a triangle cone thing, and it's just like with eyes with like textured eyes over like the cone. And his whole body, his limbs are like a set of like triangles tacked onto each other, and his sword is just this little pointy ass shit.
The best for me is still Max Payne. The first Max Payne face.
Oh yeah, it's just like a texture wrapped around a cone.
It's just like this guy with like doing the rock eyebrow the entire time, like shooting people. It's so ridiculous. It's so good.
I love that graphical generation. I'm sorry, I really do.
It was right after like kind of like the way too pointiness of N64, and like right before we're trying to do too hyper realistic, but not quite getting there with 360.
Well, we didn't.
It's kind of a nice middle ground.
It really hit in between there. Yeah, because it was before we got into the Uncanny Valley. It was right before that. Like right after that, there was like a period of time where games were just super ugly and unsettling.
Yes.
Like video games just became unsettling for like 2 or 3 years.
Every time I see GoldenEye faces, I'm just I keep forgetting.
Oh god.
Yeah, you forget like how like what was happening.
They literally just took a picture and just went meh,
and just
kind of that on a cone.
Onto like a block, like we're gonna make this work.
It's gonna be beautiful.
It will work. All right, you want to move on to news?
Yeah, Jack. We talked last time about
news time on the Gamecast.
I didn't know what we were doing. I thought he was doing the Mario when he gets the star. I was.
That's what I thought for a second.
I thought it was. Well, it's like both.
No, yeah,
like I got it after a second.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, okay. I had a bit. Let me do my bit.
So last time, Jack, we talked about Valve and this issue with the CS:GO lotteries, and we had a big news story on that. What happened?
Yeah, so essentially Valve has come out and said rather late to the party. Well, I mean, I'm gonna let they did a good thing, and so I think we need to give them credit where it's credit's due. They have essentially banned the use of these CS:GO sites and saying that they're essentially doing money gambling and all this other things, and it's illegal by their terms of service. They have stated that it's illegal by their terms of service, and I think what this boils down to is like from the first of it, I don't think Valve was necessarily unaware of this. I think that all the heat that's recently been put on these things and the media attention that's done, Valve's come out and said, this is clearly illegal. We weren't aware of it. I think they were, and they were allowing it to happen, but they've always had it in their back pocket that they could cut it off the instant they needed to, and I think that's exactly what they did, which is good. I don't know. I don't necessarily trust Valve at this point. I can't tell them. I mean, we can read their statement line for line, and I think it's clear that it was built into their Steam client that this is illegal because there had to be something about this that was illegal.
Right.
And it's again they're continuing to all the sites are CS:GO Lounge, CS:GO Strong, all these like sites, CS:GO Double are going to have to cease and desist by order of Valve or once they want to get sued. And being in kind of the nature of them and them not being large corporations, I almost imagine to a man this whole practice is going to end. So it's nice. I mean, I think for me, like the whole thing is like at this point, it's like the internet found out something sketchy, fessed it up, and then the company cut them off at the heels, and now all these bastards are going to go away. And I think for me personally, this is the best case scenario because we talked about last week, and I think that Valve recognized this too, and this is why they decided to do that. Is like if we get like regulation on gambling and this kind of thing,
right.
We don't want this to go into like actual legislators' hands. We want these companies to do it, which is bad. It's weird to say. I would prefer the company to handle the situation before it gets to legislation because I think it could stupidly somehow cut off capabilities of games in the future. And I think Valve doing this is like the best case scenario. And I think it cuts off the possibility of people in the future really hampering, new game development. Or because I think this is an interesting new area that's been developed and should be looked at. But just fuck these guys and who they are.
No, definitely. I think, Peter, you said they need to stop being the uncle, be more the parent.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's definitely what we saw here, but it's also the case of
Damn,
Valve.
a good line, Peter.
You need to wait. You need to get ahead of the game a little bit, and that's I guess the big question is how cognizant was Valve of this? Valve is obviously a small company, but they're pretty big in the industry, and it's definitely been an issue for a little while. So it's one of those things like obviously we just kind of got to let it go, but one hopes that Valve didn't just put see this and go, all right, well, something happens,
They can't. Okay, here's my bit. They can't have not known about what they were essentially doing.
That's what I think too.
I think they also definitely waited long enough till after the initial reaction. They didn't have this ready to go over a second. They thought it through, so clearly it was something they were allowing to happen to seeing how the story developed and waited long enough to make sure that this is the way the market really felt and then acted upon it. So I think maybe I'm just a cynical prick, but I definitely think they were on they were the fucking Prussians waiting to see which way the wind would blow before they joined the battle. Not the Prussians. I suppose Walder Frey, maybe.
Valve, Walder Frey of the gaming industry.
Oh my god, that's loaded. That's loaded. I do feel like it wasn't an initial like moral reaction. They're putting it off like, oh, it was always illegal. That's not what would happen. Like if they realized it was illegal, it would have come out immediately while they were actually talking about what was happening. They have waited a time and a half before, and the news story is almost old by the time this came out. So I think they waited a time and a half, figured out their response, and then kind of cut it off as much as they could. And maybe they'll come back and look at this stuff in the future. I mean, I think that's the issue with Valve is like, I do feel they're more responsive to their community in terms of like they do sketchy stuff and only get held accountable when the community holds them accountable, more so than anything.
Right.
And I think that's the thing is there's all this shit going on in Greenlight, there's all this sketchy stuff and all this shovelware, and I just feel like I feel like we need to stop pretending Valve is an amazing company and start realizing that they're very complicit in what the fuck's happening.
Right. No, I definitely agree. I definitely agree.
That's not to say, like, and I think that's the thing, is this transition from them. I love Valve, the game company. Valve, the entrepreneur and innovator of Steam, is also kind of amazing. But at the same time, like, I feel like, I feel sometimes like it's like, how can I squeeze a buck out of it,
Yes, I think sometimes Valve is like Ian Malcolm said. Yeah, before you knew what it was, you packaged it and you sold it. And you're selling it. They often push things to the forefront before thinking of the consequences.
Maybe that's true. Maybe they're more like I think that's probably a more positive way to view it, because I like Valve, and I think that's the issue.
They're innovators, and they're always thinking ahead of time.
And they've run
a problem.
It's the nature of them to run I mean, that's the thing, is up till now everyone's forgiven them over and over and over again, because like it does feel like, I mean, I do think that is what's happening, is they're running ahead of themselves, and they're running into walls that no one else is, because they're so ahead of the pack, and they were always so ahead of the game, and I think that I understand that, but I think their reaction in the last essentially the last year has been a little bit more cynical to kind of some of the more ways people can take advantage of the situation.
Definitely. So we can't help talk about Pokemon Go in every single section this week, because it's just
right
in the news. So
that's how it happens.
Yeah.
What's the big news in the stock world about this?
So
People
essentially,
not paying attention. That's what the news was.
people are idiots. Is
Yeah,
exactly
I
what
love
happens.
the story.
If you ever need evidence that like people don't do their fucking homework, it's
Or
like
just don't read.
right, just like basic reading. Because
Just
this
click
is even,
Pokemon Go and look on the right-hand corner on developer. It's all
I know. I mean, this is the thing. Nintendo's share has plummeted after the investors realize it doesn't actually have anything to do with Pokemon Go, which is a nicer way to say it is that Nintendo is the publisher and owns a small percentage of the Pokemon company.
Yes.
And when they released their annual earnings report, they said, "Oh, we modestly expect to have upticks based upon the Pokemon Go app. We don't expect to, be the company in control of the game and control of the world at the moment," which is, I think, was a shock to people and the investors who just thought, Nintendo's Pokemon's a Nintendo product, so Nintendo's gonna do so well. And I feel like it's funny to see like how unresearched Wall Street is sometimes.
Right, though?
Just like it's like terrifying. It's like everyone done like buy Pokemon, and that coded to buy Nintendo. It's like, and you look and like Niantic and Pokemon companies stock are doing good as well, but like not as much as Nintendo. Not like Nintendo, because they're the most recognizable face up front. So as a result, they've been overestimated, and now their shares are plummeting. So sell your Nintendo if you. Well, I mean, I don't know.
The weird thing about like that, where it's like, my thing was like it actually looked bad for Nintendo, and we'll see in the long term. But one of the big problems I've always had with Pokemon is as fun as it is to play, it's been the same game for 20 years. There's been minor upgrades here and there, but they don't innovate. They don't have these interesting, clever ideas, and this was kind of the first one that kind of took it out of that classic realm that when you think of a Pokemon game, that's what 99% of them are. I'm not saying all of them have to be Pokemon Snap, but they can be.
Jesus,
I have played Pokemon Snap so many damn times.
It's so good. I mean, I still like
stupidly fun.
I have a picture somewhere that I actually.
Okay, maybe they all should be Pokemon Snap because Pokemon Go is so successful. Maybe we just.
I was about to say, Pokemon. I have the picture of Mew somewhere. I got a really good picture of Mew on that last level one time, and it's almost like a perfect in focus picture. And I think I still have that shit saved somewhere. Because you could go. I remember I went to Blockbuster, and it's not saved. I have it printed out because you could go to Blockbuster and there would be Pokemon Snap machines, and you could print it out. And I did that with that one, and it's somewhere. It's like in a scrapbook somewhere. And like my mom was like, "Why do you want to save this picture?" And I was like, "It's really important."
It's so
like, Mom, don't question me, please.
This is Mew, Mom, Mew.
It's the most powerful Pokemon.
Right. And so if I was an investor, I was going to be more saying like, "Oh, look what someone else did with Pokemon. Maybe Nintendo needs to be a little bit more clever with this very valuable property." I mean,
I think that's the name of Nintendo's game, is they need to be more clever with their insanely valuable property. I mean, I still stand by the fact that I think Nintendo is properly priced at the moment for the fact that the people in Nintendo don't know how to use the gold mine that is their properties. But people might have said that about fucking Sonic a couple of years ago, so who knows?
Yeah.
You won't say that now.
You want to talk about an abused property? Did you guys see? Did you guys see the 25th anniversary of Sonic cast? It was the most sad and depressing thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, then I think I just may skip that. I don't want to see it if it's most depressing.
People were like screaming about Sonic, and they were a bought out crowd, and it just felt so dirty. You know,
Oh no!
it's just like Sonic made his complete horror turn. I don't know. I don't mean to like. I feel like calling Sonic a horror is a disservice to horrors. I mean,
Oh my god!
I you guys didn't
One
play
day.
like Shadow or what was it? Shadow.
Are you talking about 06? Oh no, the one where he's got the gun.
Yeah, I don't
Shadow,
talk about it. I don't want to. I it's blocked from my mind.
One day we'll get the proper Lars von Trier movie of Shadows of Sonic's life, depressing fall from grace.
Maybe.
So next up we have. So apparently what's been going on over at Ubisoft is they've been fending off a apparent violent takeover by Vavendi. And again, let me just make this very clear. Vavendi is attempting to take over the company through means that is not approved by the current people in control of Ubisoft. That's what I mean by violent takeover.
Okay.
They're not literally going over there and kicking the pirates out of Ubisoft. That's not happening. What's essentially happening is that they're attempting to buy a certain amount of stock to gain the controlling interest, and then they can control the boardroom to an extent that they can place in their own individuals in power and control the properties over at Ubisoft. My question to the panel is essentially, what do you think this means for the future of Assassin's Creed and other Ubisoft properties? Because it's funny, because we always think of, I mean, I at least personally tend to think of Ubisoft as like kind of like the bedrock company, and I feel like sometimes like we're so isolated in the gaming industry that like we don't even realize like there's other companies like, you know, they're like fucking mincemeat or like, you know, small fish compared to the big players at hand.
Right. Well, when you're competing with like a massive multimedia company, it's one thing that's very different in comparison with just being your own game company. You can be the titans of a game company, but compared to a massive media company, you said you're small fry. And you're right, it is a bedrock because they have almost every year they have an E3 convention. To me, if you are one company that has an entire block at E3, you matter, whether people like it or not.
Yeah. And
the Ubisoft model has been so influential. It's sort of, I think, what was kind of crazy to me about this E3 is it felt like the first year where we weren't all ripping off sort of that Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, more like Assassin's Creed was kind of first in the model. Right. And now we're sort of doing a lot of Last of Us, like kind of rip-offs more, but it's sort of interesting to me that someone that's that influential could be bought up. It's kind of crazy, and I mean, it reminds me of like the Infinity Ward days. Like, we thought Infinity Ward would last forever, and then watch what happens. You know, things can change.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean because I actually don't know if Vivendi would be a better steward of Ubisoft. So I don't mean to say anything because I literally know nothing to say one way or another. But I do think it is in my mind. It's kind of like it's almost like Konami to some extent. Like, you know how Konami treated. Well, we don't know if Konami treated them poorly or not. We just know that Konami's kind of kicked its gaming subsidiary to the curb. And I'm like, well, could they just be buying out the brands from Ubisoft and then using them in like a different sort of way, or like what's the plan there? Because it's weird to me that like I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff broken over at Ubisoft that's like a big problem. Like, for instance, their Assassin's Creed series I think needs a strong reboot and they need to fucking kick the animus or some element of it to the curb.
It needs some variety in that series. It's basically the same thing released every single thing.
Except for the one where it was a secret pirate game, and that was great.
Oh, yeah,
pirate
well, I'm sorry, like the core element of the inside of that game killed the story for me. I mean, it
still sucks that you got to do assassin stuff every now and then.
No, it's exactly. I don't have an issue with the assassin. I just want to be a fucking assassin. I don't want them to have the animus element.
Thank you. That's something I was hoping for. When we what was the name of the original main character? Desmond. Yes, I was waiting for a game where instead of him going into the animus and playing as an ancestor, we just got to see him be an assassin for the full game. And yes, we got elements of that in Assassin's Creed 3, but it's not like it really lasted long. It's not like it really carried over into anything.
What essentially happened is they realized everyone hated Desmond, and then they killed him off
But they
to
kept
appease. They
pulling you out of the
yeah,
damn
exactly.
game.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a plan to replace him. So even though he was milquetoast, what we have after is even fucking worse.
Yeah. And like I thought 4 would be a little bit more interesting, that we would
It's also
have like
also
a guy
hard to
like
admit,
you don't have to leave, you can if you want. But no, that was a lie. You still have to fucking leave every once in a while. It's like,
it also feels shitty to realize a game doesn't have like distinct artistic direction. That's kind of my issue with Dark Souls 3 a little bit. Is like it's clear that there was some elements in like because originally Dark Souls was meant as to be like a turning point for the Dark Souls series, and it changed up into kind of an end to the series, and you can definitely tell in some of the association of like the elements put together, and it's just kind of a shitty experience to realize like there's not like I don't know. I mean, I would assume it of the best game, so I don't necessarily think it's like a terrible thing, but it's definitely bad to just assume like, you know, crappiness on the part of the developer to assume that they don't have like they don't care about their own artistic vision. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they don't like. It's clear that Ubisoft did not care about its artistic vision about Desmond just to kill him, kick him to the curb, and do something else. And now that there's zero artistic vision and the overall elements of the series and the story direction, and that's why it's it needs to be rebooted. It needs to be started over. You need to like figure out where you're going with it and make a series that I can be tied into. But they're not going to for a while because clearly the movie is technically tied into the same damn universe. So. They're not going to do it anytime soon.
I agree. So I think is that enough for news for today? Think we're good? So we will.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our big topic for the week. We'll be talking about the crazy sensation that is Pokemon Go, as well as issues with the game, or what we like with the game, what we don't, and geocaching games in general. To join us this week, we have Sarah Becker.
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Sarah. Thank you,
Hey.
Sarah, for poor Sarah's been sitting here the whole time.
No
quiet in the
problem.
corner.
It's cool. That's what
We let her
Facebook
out
is
of her
for.
cage. So, first, before we start, has anyone had any experience before with geocache games with this? I will say I have, and that I played Ingress, which is what the backbone of Pokemon Go is built on, which I will discuss more later, and the issues with that. Sort of a kind of interest. I'll go ahead and talk about that now.
The backbone, the drapes, the wallpaper.
Yes, that was
maybe the thing itself.
The foundation.
Entire game.
I think it's better to think of Pokemon Go as a wallpaper that's been put over Ingress.
It's like, remember Winamp skins? You remember those? It's like Pokemon Go Winamp skin over Ingress. Ingress was interesting. My brother got me into it, but it had its own problems, and mainly that everything was super locked out. And that's one thing it seems that Pokemon Go is a little bit better at. Is once the major players had taken over City, it was over. So Houston is totally green. Don't even bother being blue in Houston. It's not worth it. Everything's green. Everything's locked. But it was kind of an interesting idea. It got you out of the house. Kind of got you interested. But like I think a lot of people, I found I hit a wall. Does anyone else kind of have that experience?
My favorite little bit about the reason this game happens is just like, oh yeah, they're like Nintendo's innovating in all this direction. No, they're not. The owners of the Pokemon Company, him and his wife, played Ingress.
Is that how that works?
Insanely, yeah. They are insanely like the Japanese couple in Japan that owns the Pokemon Company. Well, they don't own it, but like it's his wife. They are insanely obsessed with Ingress and literally invited the maker of the head of Niantic over and like talked it out, and that's how the whole thing happened.
Okay.
That's why it's funny. It's funny to me because it's like the reason Pokemon happened is because this guy was just into it. Because Pokemon, I think, is like totally happy, just like marketing their own brand and not being on top of the world like they were once. Like it's funny to me because they just keep putting out newer and newer games. And they do it in like a 2-year cycle, and they've just been happy. And people get pissed off all the time at them for not doing something like this. And now that they've done it, I don't know if it's for better or for worse, but it's here.
Right, and that's the fact that it was built on Ingress is so evident because it doesn't. It's so interesting because it has this feature where it's so open to people. You've seen a ton of people engaged. It's more of a fad than even like a video game thing, which is very interesting.
Right.
It's almost like the Wii is the last time I kind of feel like this kind of happened, where it kind of transcends more gamers and more like just into the general public. And the problem with that is it's amazing because it's built on the hard work of other people who basically coded the game, essentially in the stops and the when the Pokemon gyms are all the old portals and all the like basic areas were mapped out by people, and they kind of
Yeah.
use that info. But because of that, you have very weird games where essentially a family game has stuff like Pokemon stops in the Holocaust Museum or at a gay sex club because
Oh.
people are jokers.
I just saw this right beforehand. This is not okay at all. But the Holocaust Museum is currently the top of the gym. Because the Holocaust Museum is a gym, it is currently owned by a player with a wheezing.
There you
That's
go.
not
There
alright.
you go.
No.
That's
No.
it's. I saw it on Reddit and I was just like, oh Jesus
Oh
Christ!
my God.
That is the problem. People are dicks, and people like.
Well, actually,
to fuck with things.
here's the thing. I
Maybe
want
more
I
humorous, maybe
don't
more
want to
dark.
dissuade anyone from playing this game because I am amazed by how great this is. I'm sorry.
the fear-mongering
This
is
is
annoying.
the greatest gaming community I've ever seen in
Yes.
terms of being like camaraderie and into each other and into the
Right,
game
though?
material. It's something about the Pokemon and the nature of Pokemon and the nature of it being inclusive to kids has made this community insanely good and insanely into it and insanely like nice. Like I've interacted with people over the last couple of weeks playing Pokemon that I would have never interacted, people from all walks of life that I would have never talked to before this. And not to say anything bad, it's just such an insanely different experience, and it's just interesting to me that it's just interesting to me like how it's panning out and the way it's happening.
Yeah, it was maybe a week and a half ago. I went with a few friends to a park here in Houston, and it was like a Thursday in the evening, and to just see the fact that like 95% of the people who were there were like on their phones interacting with each other within their own groups with other people, like just playing this one game. There were at least 5 times that we were walking around this park, and we were there for like 2 hours, and there were like 5 times where we'd hear someone be like Team Valor, and we had like a few other people respond in turn, and then like in response to that we hear like someone say like Team Instinct or Team Mystic, like that kind of camaraderie, like how friendly it's been. Like it was the most bizarrely awesome thing I have done recently. I have experienced.
The only reason I am still playing this game is because of the community.
Right, and that's
Yeah,
why
the
I think it's
community is
frustrating to me that they're Nintendo by doing this sort of wallpaper method of building on the older thing. It makes it so that people can more easily shit on the elements of the game that are easy to shit on. You know what I mean? It reminds me of like when Dungeons and Dragons got big. And everyone's like, people are going to go in the sewers and get lost and die, and like it's so stupid. And it's the latest thing of like, are kids going to get robbed? No, why you let your kids go out with Pokemon Go? And it's frustrating that Nintendo didn't kind of build into its system the idea that this game could be huge and be scrutinized on a level that video games aren't usually. And maybe that's not fair to Nintendo, but you also kind of got to know the power of Pokemon. And when you let people go out into the world, you have to understand that things are going to happen.
I think that people just need to not be idiots when they're playing this game. Like, I hear about people, like, walking into bodies of water because they're not paying attention, or, like, playing it while they're driving and getting in car accidents. Like, I mean, I understand, like, it's a fun game. It's enjoyable.
We live in America, Sarah. Things are supposed to be idiot-proof now. Like, that's just the way things
I
are
know,
supposed to
but
be.
come on. Like,
the game says when you
Why
open
are
up,
you
when you open it up,
dumb?
like be aware of your surroundings, know where you're going.
Yeah. Did you guys see they released the new gym leaders and what they look like?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
already so much gym leader porn. Like,
I'm not
I knew about-
surprised.
Cool.
there's just an
I didn't know about
insane
that,
amount
but I
of,
at least
and
knew
it's
about
funny too
illustrations
because
about them.
Team Valor has like the quote unquote hot ones.
Yeah,
So, like,
pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that like Ghostbusters blamed Pokemon Go for its bad like opening. Like that's
I think
the
that's
power
fair.
of it. It's
I think
crazy.
that's totally. I mean, I actually,
No,
I
yeah, a
totally
huge
buy that.
demographic is
I
how
totally
playing
buy
Pokemon.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a huge issue. Like, I totally were like, because like this was like the weekend when it came out, and like if people were like, that was the weekend that like Tinder, like I shit you not, like people were doing this thing where they would like people were having like groups meet up on Tinder, and like Tinder does like group meetups now. That was a new tech thing, and
Yeah,
there was
no.
literally like hundreds of like Tinder was more used for like group meetups for Pokemon Go hunts than it was for like hooking up. for like the first time.
That's
That
kind of awesome.
is
I
rich.
didn't consider using Tinder for that. I made it to start.
No, you didn't consider using Tinder for that because it's a disgusting app. Like, no offense. No, actually, no offense to people trying to meet other people. Like, that's totally fine.
I've had very good experience on
I-
Tinder. I've also had very gross experience on Tinder. So you're
No,
not
I mean, yeah, it's,
100% wrong.
it's what it is. It's just, I mean, is it better than Craigslist? Yes.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
goodness.
We can agree upon that. I
Yes.
mean, but it's just funny to me that it took over. Its purpose was entirely subsumed by people trying to play Pokemon. Like, that's just the level of injection and the deepness of it. And I love how like people are like out and out unafraid of the fact that everyone's doing Pokemon Go, and it's just great. It's just great to have that.
But is the game great, Jack?
No, the game's fucking terrible. It's absolutely fucking broken on every
It's
sense
a
of the
pay
word.
to win game.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
like a 1 out of 10, dudes. It's bad.
It's a really frustrating experience because it's one of those things that like it's so interesting because you're right. It's the communal thing and it's the fad thing. That's why I consider it more like a fad thing. It's like it just kind of hits those right beats and gets people interested and gets people out. But it's essentially, to me, the game version of seeing like the Sneeze video in the 1800s.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's incredible now, and when geocaching games are much more advanced and interesting and inventive and clever, we're gonna look at that and go, why? You know, like
Yeah,
it is.
no.
I mean,
so
I can
simplistic
tell you
in its sense.
exactly why everyone's crazy about it. I mean, at least for people in our age group, when we were kids, this is all we wanted. At least for me, was to be able to
Oh,
go
the
out
timing
in the
is
real
perfect.
world and catch
yeah.
Pokemon. And now, for
The
all
timing is
intents and
perfect.
purposes, you can do that. And
No, like,
so
let's
yeah,
talk- let's talk-
it's flawed for very many reasons, but on that level, it just feeds our inner child.
This is like getting the flying car or the jetpack, guys. Like, this is what we imagined as kids. Like, this is one of those. This is one of those childhood dreams that actually was fulfilled in our lifetime by technology. And I think that's what's so powerful about it. Is it is like, like, when are we gonna get jetpacks? When are we gonna get flying cars? We haven't, like, technology. We're not flying around the stars. We're not doing all these things. And I do think like we're a very like cynical generation a little bit because of it. And because of the promises that are made, but this is like Pokemon fucking did it, like, and that's like, it might be broken, but they actually did it, and there is something like you can go out in the world and go catch digital monsters, like, in pocket monsters that'll fit in your pocket, and I think there's something just insanely incredible about that. And so I think like I agree with you, Sarah. I like it. It's just like I think about it sometimes, and it like truly warms my heart. It is a totally broken app. It is terrible.
Well, I remember the thing that
Ingress
first
is far
encouraged
superior.
me to actually get this app, and I'll admit I'm one of those people. I actually bought a new phone so I could play this stupid game because I had an iPhone 4 at the time. But then I play the piano and the organ at a church. And one day after the service, my choir director was laughing. I was like, "What's so funny?" And he says, "There's a Squirtle under the piano." And I'm like, "Right, that's it. I have to get this game. There's a Squirtle in my workplace. I need to catch Pokemon and catch them all and go on my Pokemon journey that I've always wanted to do." And I've done that. And from a purely like physical standpoint, with the exception of the last few days because I live in Texas and it's been way too fucking hot to go out and play this
to do
game.
anything.
But
anything.
when I first got this game for about the first week, I was averaging walking 3 miles a day playing
That's
this
awesome.
game. And before that, I was total like couch potato, not doing any sort of exercise whatsoever. And yes, I've been laying off of it for a little while because it just got too hot, but I mean, once it cools down, like, this is really good for me to just, work on getting in shape and leaving the house. And
No,
it's
I'm
wonderful.
about to move to Los Angeles, and I'm going to use Pokemon Go as a way to explore the city. Like, absolutely,
That's
I'm going to be
also
like,
good.
like,
Absolutely.
it's a great way to go. Like, okay, where are the Pokemon stops? Because they're always in places that are kind of clever, and that's one thing that's really nice about Ingress and the good elements of it. And that's why the stops are frustrating. Is sometimes most people put stops in places that are clever and kind of cool, and they'll
Right.
put it in place like this piece of art. You should see this piece of art. It's kind of neat. And like I've heard people say, like, "Oh, I've gone on all these Pokemon stops. I didn't know we had this really cool library or this really awesome restaurant or this really nice bar." That's the
Or a
element
really
I
cool
totally agree with.
statue.
if we're built on a broken app, but we're still built on, again, like you said, Jack, on the community, and that's what's really nice about it. The fact that the community, for the most part, is focused on exploration and fun and excitement.
Ben, I'm
That's what I
sorry.
like.
Like, we have to just say, like, the majority of this community is really good. 'Cause,
That's
like,
what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
If it's for the most part, like the Dark Souls community, for the most part, is good. Like,
Most communities are good. It's assholes who ruin them for everybody.
I
the
know.
problem.
I just think I do think this is there is like such a childlike wonder. Maybe it's more my own goggles blinding me to the fact that they're assholes, but my experience has been there's such a childlike wonder attached to this game that I can't necessarily separate it from like the amazingness that's happening. And that's funny. It blinds me. It blinded me for the longest time to the fact that like the 3-step process is broken.
Well,
Like,
I think it's just also a case of what happens in the game that is built on society is then reflected back by society. You know what I mean? That's the issue. Like, there are people who would probably appreciate that there's a Pokemon shop and a gay sex club because maybe they want a gay sex club and they don't know that that one's there. I saw when that was posted on Reddit, some people were like, oh, I didn't know that was there. I actually kind of want to go there. Like, and that's kind of cool. You know, like, there are people who learn something about the community that maybe they wanted to learn. But you have to kind of react to that also with, this is technically a game for kids, but is it a game for kids? Is it a game for everybody? But what does that mean when everyone can build on it?
Should kids have smartphones?
And it's sort of like the thing where it's like, exactly, when it's like a game
Kids
for
should have
everybody, it
smartphones.
becomes a reflection of society too, which is why
I'm sorry. Smartphones are inherent. Like, here's the issue: is smartphone use going to be inherent in the future? Yes, it is. We should let people have smartphones.
I know.
Like,
this
this
is
is
just
the
a
thing. I-
rollover from my
that was just
childhood.
my
Like, I
sarcastic
didn't get my
response.
own cell phone, smart
Oh,
or
okay.
otherwise,
I agree with
until
that. I
was,
think it's
like,
different.
a sophomore in high school.
My issue is because the only difference between having a cell phone and a smartphone, and the reason we want a smartphone, is internet access. And here's my thing: I don't think you should ever limit a child's internet access.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I think there's supervision and limitation, and I don't think you should out and outright say you can't use the internet. I mean, I definitely think you should like guide them and have it as a thing that you do together. Like, I'm not saying like point out the porn sites to children. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like you do truly need to like. I think it's inherent to the future technology is, and the more we limit people, the more we handicap the next generation's ability to do things. And I think that's the thing, is like, that's why I say smartphone, yeah, because the only thing you have against smartphone is the interconnectivity and the fact that it is. And I think that the next generation is going to be even more built on it than we are. So we just need to like we need to get them the tools to do it in utero and as soon as possible and to be a part of it. So I don't think limiting it is gonna be the option, because that cat's out of the bag, guys. So.
Oh no, yeah, that was just me saying that sarcastically because.
No.
because
I know,
like
and I don't
5-year-olds.
disagree, and I understand. Like, I didn't have a cell phone until I was older as well. Like, I'm totally right there with you, Sarah. Like, I had a cell phone. I think my first cell phone. I mean, I didn't have a smartphone until college. Like, that was because I didn't have a smartphone forever. I had. When did the first smartphone come out, actually?
2007.
Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
17 at the time. I definitely didn't get the first one.
Yeah, I didn't have a
think
smartphone. I remember my big technological advancement was the iPod Color. And it was like
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
I realized that technology moves to a speed that kind of warps your
insane.
brain and changes it, because
Right.
like I used to play solitaire on my smartphone, on my smartphone. See, I can't remember. It was
I
my
had a-
iPod
I had a-
in black and white. And when I got my color, I was like, "This is amazing! I can play solitaire in color." And now, like, I can play
Yeah.
my old game from my fucking Xbox. I can play Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic on my phone. I'm like, yeah. Like, it's just so weird the way life changes so fast like that.
Yeah, I had a Razor flip phone the first year of college.
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah, that's like how, Jesus Christ.
Aren't
I
they
mean,
aren't they bringing razors back? I feel like I
Are
heard
they?
that a while ago.
Are they?
Yeah, they're bringing. Yeah, they're not really bringing them back. Like,
Damn
here's
it.
what this is one of the things that's going to happen. It'll be a fashion statement, but it is not a functional fashion statement. Like, anything that's not a smartphone now is just so unfunctional that it needs to just go die. Do you know what I mean? Like,
But I want to be able to legitimately like hang up on someone, like just flip it shut and be like, no, I like fuck you, and like poof.
Yeah, Peter, it's like wearing
No, I know.
glasses without lenses. Like,
No, I
eventually
know.
everyone's just like, you're stupid.
Oh, like Chris Hemsworth's character in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's exactly what it's like. Pretty much that whole character summarizes flip phones coming back as a trend.
Well, we've talked very philosophically and culturally about Pokemon. Let's talk very baseline. What's your favorite Pokemon, guys? What's your big achievements? I don't know nothing about nothing, so I'm sitting out of this. But let's hear
this is. You want to limit to the original 150?
Sure. I don't know anything.
What's your favorite Pokemon that you caught, Sarah?
I am really proud of catching a Dragonair. Actually.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I sent it to her.
What?
Oh yeah, you did. You had a
Yeah.
Dragonair.
Oh, that's right.
You
did.
Dragonair.
You did.
I was
You
gonna
did.
say, I was gonna freak out.
Yeah.
I
No,
thought you had a
I mean,
Dragonite. No offense.
no, I do not have a Dragonite yet. I caught 2 Dratinis and a Dragonair, and then I traded in both of my Dratinis for more Dratini candy, obviously, because that's what you do. That being said, I only have 11 Dratini candy at present, and you need 100 to evolve Dragonair to Dragonite. So I'm not going to have a Dragonite
goodness.
for a very long time, if ever. And it's not even that powerful. It's got 267 combat power. I don't want to waste my candies to train it because I need them to evolve it someday. So it's just kind of sitting there being pretty because it's a Dragonair, but I still really like it.
That's cool.
My strongest Pokemon is a CP927 Flareon,
Damn.
Yeah.
which I have yet to use in a gym because it's been too hot for me to go to the gyms in my area.
Yeah, that's. I have my proudest thing I've caught is a 525 Scyther. I caught it at 435 and used all its candy to level it up. I'm probably never going to catch another Scyther, so it's probably going to stay at 525. But that's a reasonably high level Pokemon for the rate of which you're probably going to catch that. So my most powerful Pokemon is a 1350 Pidgeot because
Damn.
the Pidgeys rule the thing. Yeah, and if you just
My
catch all these
Pidgeot is
Pidgeys,
weak
why
as
not
hell.
level it up?
I have 4
Yeah.
Pidgeot right now.
Yeah,
I only have one, and mine's weak as hell, so I now feel really ashamed of mine.
My strongest
Well,
one is 710.
my thing is in Durham, all I can catch. Like, here's the thing, and I play so differently because Katie plays like a collector. My girlfriend plays like a collector, and I play to level up specific Pokemon. So like, I'm very happy popping a lure at my apartment and sitting in my apartment catching Pidgeys and Rattatas all day. Like, I also have a very beefy Raticate. You see, for me, it's like the function of the game is like, are you going to level a Pokemon or are you going to catch different variations of Pokemon? Because I can never catch enough of that variation of Pokemon if it's particularly rare to either level it up or evolve it. So for me, like, the only option to have a super strong Pokemon is to catch like the low level one and level it up and then just keep leveling it up. Like that I've clearly done with my Pidgeot.
I need to start doing that, like just catching all the Pidgeys that I possibly fucking can, and then just go from there.
I just catch anything that I find.
All right, I think that's enough for talking on Pokemon. And we actually, surprise to me, and a very pleasant surprise to me, I believe Jackie said we actually got a question in already.
We got a question actually this week. It is from a user on Twitter called at Gladfly, and he asked, I don't know, I assume it was a he. You can yell at me, Sarah. I don't know. I actually have no idea what the
This person asked.
I have no question about the gender of the individual. I'm not entirely
Just
sure.
say they, it covers...
They, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is clever, Sarah. Thank you for that. You teach me new
welcome.
things every day. But they asked, what is your favorite boss fight of all time?
Oh, that is a good one.
You go, Ben.
Yeah.
It's definitely got to be a Zelda one. Zelda's just
Ooh,
always
yeah,
been my
so
franchise.
many.
And there's so many that just, even like the easy ones, like the Dooku Tree Spider, I can do literally in like 20 seconds. I feel like a speedrunner because
Wow.
when I was a kid, I would play the first 3 levels over and over again. And the part when you get out of the adult link and you get out and there's zombies and they kill you right away and they help you burn to death, I was so freaking scared and overwhelmed by that world that I'd only play the first 3 levels. So I can beat those 3 bosses easily, but they're burned deep in my brain. So I'm not sure which one I would say is my favorite. Maybe I like the Ganondorf painting one a lot in the Forest Temple. It's a little bit more simple, but I kind of like the idea of something coming out paintings and the way he kind of mirrors the boss battle later. I think it's very clever. Maybe not the most intricate one. So definitely pretty much anything in Ocarina of Time, I would say, but maybe that one or two.
Mm-hmm. Let me go ahead and change it up and add on to a question. What's your least favorite? What do you think is the worst boss fight you've ever seen?
It's a heavy one that was like impossible.
That's actually difficult. I'm right, because I had one in mind because I was thinking about the original Deus Ex, not the original Deus Ex, but you know the Human Revolution bosses where they were like,
those are
they're
God.
so bad, they're so painful.
Thank God for that director's cut because it's like you can play as stealth, great. Oh no, wait, you need like really good weapons for this guy.
Because like there's no way, because he's just got a huge damage thing. Because apparently you can take
That's
25 rockets to the face, because that's an augmentation.
Rocket face protection.
Just like rocket face shield.
I'm down.
You
for
an
that.
ugly mofo now, but you're alive. I don't know.
You'll live.
I never asked for rocket face shield.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Do either of you have one that comes to mind? I'm gonna look at more Zelda ones because I feel like they have better answers. But I guess any other you come to mind for you, Jack?
Oh, yeah, for me, I'm torn between two, and I really want to do a Soulsborne boss because there are so many good Soulsborne bosses. I'm sorry, I don't think any other series does bosses. Like, I think Zelda is a good approximation of, like, they actually distinguish the boss and do sort of things. There's so many good ones. My favorite Soulsborne boss is Maria of the Astral Clock Tower. The second to last in the Bloodborne DLC. I'll never forget that because it was the closest.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the closest. She's on the box art for the DLC. It was the closest I've ever been to like feeling like I was in an actual fucking duel. I love boss fights that are duels between two people where the character has a similar move set to you and you have to like move it. But I think my all-time favorite boss fight was in Kingdom Hearts, the first one, the second fight with Riku. When you're in Hollow Bastion, when he has his like reverse Keyblade, he killed me so many times, but it's so awesome. And Sora like becomes a Heartless
so
like right after. That was the moment where like I think Kingdom Hearts became my favorite series as a kid. Like I was like, and I recognize that I have no right to review Kingdom Hearts, but it was the moment where like it ingrained in me as like as a part of my conscience. So I'll never forget that boss, even though I recognize now it's like so much more mechanically wonky than the perfection of the Dark Souls bosses.
Oh, who cares?
Well, right, like that's why I felt the same with
no, exactly. Who cares?
Don't ever replay Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like the first time you fight that guy with the giant sword is one of the most amazing moments in video game history. Because you're like, this is huge. I'm tiny. What the fuck? How am I ever going to defeat this guy?
Right.
And it's such an amazing moment. And there are better boss battles in that game, but it's just that first one where like you fight a few little ones and you come to that first giant one. It's just, oh my god, how? Like that's the thing with those Zelda games too. It's like this guy comes out with his electricity and shit everywhere, and you're like, oh my god, this is impossible. And then you eventually learn the patterns and the methods and the styles, and that's what makes a great boss battle.
Well, it's one of those.
I also would say
for Maria, I only ever beat her once. That was enough, but like I never like. When I was getting close to beating her, because I died so many times to her, like it's funny, because even in the original Kingdom Hearts, that was actually the most fights, most times I lost to a boss was Riku. And it's funny to me, like the really, for me, like a good boss fight always has to be hard. It always has to have a deep sense of accomplishment, because Kingdom Hearts and Hollow Bastion, that fight with Riku pushed me to the limits. Because first you have that insanely tough fight with Maleficent, which my claim to fame is like I beat that Maleficent dragon in one go and then died like 50 times to Riku.
Impressive.
I died like 100 times to Riku. It took me forever to beat him, but I was obsessed with that fight. And it may have been just I thought it was so cool. I was just like, oh my god! And he zips around, and I just was not prepared for that kind of riposting enemy, which is the exact same thing Maria is for me as well, is that I was always by the skin of my teeth. It was always, and it just had such a great feel to it where I was like, it felt like real combat, and I'll never forget those.
Yeah, no, I agree. Witcher has some really, really good ones that I really appreciate, and particularly in the recent Hearts of Stone. It's probably one of the hardest boss battles I've ever done.
Yeah.
Death March, where it's the one where you get all these really interesting ones where it's like 6 shadow people, and basically you have to kind of purposely only fight one shadow monster at a time, because if you fight all 6, they're going to swarm you and kill you. So it's also like this kind of interesting balancing act, which I've never seen before in a boss fight. That was really cool. So you got to be powerful and attack them, but you also can't get too close, because if you get too close to one, then he's going to engage you in the fight. And you got 2 people fighting you, or 3 people fighting you. And so it's almost like this interesting kind of dance where you take that one and be very careful and but still be like quick and move right and know the direction. Each time you kill one, it gets harder. It's just like this great layering system that was just awesome. And those are the ones I love.
That's nice.
Very clever.
No, yeah, okay. Like for me, I was actually going to say that Riku fight that Jack brought up, but since he already did.
Oh, come on! You didn't.
No.
You were surprised that I said it, but like.
No, okay. No, like I was surprised that
It
you
is.
said it. Which
It is without a
was
doubt
so
to my
good.
mind the best Kingdom Hearts boss.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like even so, I want to at least bring up. I want to bring up like another boss fight that I personally found memorable, simply because of the moments it created. From Kingdom Hearts 2, the final fight against Xemnas.
Oh my God! Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
the lasers, and he's and Riku and him teaming up. Oh my God!
And he's
it
like
is a
zipping around the
crap
room.
functioning boss fight, but like I love when you die and you can become Mickey and you can just kick his. And
exactly.
Mickey is so overpowered.
For me personally, like especially when you get to like that final lasers part, that fight was just so memorable to me as a young teenager playing that game. I had so much fun with that fight, even though at that time, like much like the Riku fight, I died a few times before actually beating it. It was just fun to do. It was just fun.
Well, I think a good boss battle can kind of even save a game you don't love. I don't love the game DMC, but there's a really cleverly designed boss battle in that I.
Which one?
The Raptor News guy. When you go basically in Fox News and you fight CGI Bill O'Reilly. It's called Bob Barbas.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating and clever and interestingly designed and just a blast. I think
Yeah. Oh,
it can go a long way with design in these things.
Well, I think that's the thing is like I'm trying to think. There are some bosses that just like the emotion, like because there's always something different. Like there's the emotional gravitas versus like the mechanical gravitas. Like I'll admit all day that like mechanically, Bloodborne kicks the majority of the bosses I fought in my entire life up and down all day. But like nothing beats like the good. Like not only was Riku a difficulty spike, he was also mechanically interesting. He was also like emotionally interesting from the story perspective because that was what the whole game was building up, as to you meeting your polar opposite in Riku. So
right, and that's why like I actually ripped off the Shadow Link boss fight for a story once. They had to like write like a fictionalized Greek fable for class, and I just did the Legend of Zelda Shadow fight and just changed the names, and I got an A on that, which I guess proves the value of copyright or the value of really clever design.
I have a sort of crack answer for favorite boss fight.
What's that?
Go for it.
Well, it's mostly to do with the music because I think it's fucking hysterical. It was either Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy. I honestly don't remember which. But it's when you're battling Sephiroth, and it has that ridiculous music in the background that's like,
ridiculous.
Sephiroth! I don't know, just where they like
basically
keep
both.
singing like
I
his
love
name.
that.
I thought it was hysterical.
Oh yeah, that's basically both. I love it. I love
That always reminds me of Evangelion music. Is like what's that?
I didn't.
What
think
is
of
it?
that.
It's like Cruel Angel or something.
Something like
that. It always has like that very powerful like orchestra feel to it.
Yep.
Even there's no orchestra in Cruel Angel. I know that. Don't correct me, guys. I
haven't seen it. I can't.
Yeah, it's no. It's not you guys I'm worried about. It's the viewer, you
Gotcha.
vicious rascal, you that we don't have. think it's one of those things that like I always found it so iconic because I think like when it's funny to me like the impact of stories on the games changing certain musical notes for me, like the saber dance, like that it's classically used in like Bugs Bunny films when they're like running around, not Bugs Bunny films, but it's like the dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's historically it was like a Prussian military song. It's supposed to be it's supposed to make you it's supposed to make you like I don't actually know the things. I know it was a military song because it's called the Saber Dance, but it's
by RM Kachaturian. It's a real thing.
Yeah, it has a powerful association with comedy now, though, and that's the same sort of thing with some of these boss fights. And I think that's the thing is like seeing that Sephiroth thing play and seeing him kill Aerith in Final Fantasy VII, like that's such a powerful moment that I'll never like. It's so ominous to me because a character I love died. And he's the reason for it.
See,
so, like,
I didn't play that
exactly.
part. So
no, I'm not. It's funny to me because like there's certain bits of musical association for me that like it's funny like when the moment imbues that thing with such power, and like it's funny to me because like I really do respect your musical taste, Sarah. I respect it up, down, and sideways, but I would totally love that song, and I think it has to do. And but I'll totally admit to the fact that I think it has way more to do with the context of it in terms of what was happening there, as opposed to the actual content.
Absolutely, no, and that's, often music will play a big role for me in whether I like something or not, but, as you say, the association of whatever's happening with the music at the time is, a really important thing. Like, I can't listen to the song My Immortal by Evanescence anymore because the last time I heard it, it was at a lesbian sex show in Spain, and I just can't take it seriously. But no one else has that association for that song. So when I hear it on the radio, I like turn that off right now. They're like, why? What's wrong with it? I'm like, you don't want to know. Just please change the song. So,
whereas it's like that, like they're like that riff that they have for Wonder Woman that played in her trailer that just like that riff plays and I just like oh my god, fuck yeah, I want to beat something up. It's
that's her theme from Batman vs Superman, and I love that song, but for me it was such a weird musical shift.
It is, especially in that movie. Especially because it's definitely like they already had, I feel like, and I know they didn't have they weren't shooting, were they shooting? They must have been at least partially shooting Wonder Woman at the time that Batman v Superwoman was up, because by the time they had that music, it definitely feels like they'd already written part of the score for a different movie.
Yeah.
But it's so awesome. It's so awesome.
Oh, I love it so much.
And it has that like that distant vibe to it, like kind of that like that kind of illusory vibe and like that distant thing that belies her heritage. I don't know. I feel like that piece of music actually really fits her.
I do as well.
It's perfect for her.
It's just a very distinct shift because up till that point we were in the Batman theme, and then it's just like cuts over to Woman or Woman.
It's like, what?
No, I won't lie.
Awesome.
That music had played a large part in why that scene upped the rating for me. It wasn't just
No,
Wonder
it
Woman.
works.
It was,
it works. I think
that's
so well for her.
as a bit together it works. I think that scene. I know Ben, you say it's an easy moment, and I agree with you. I still think that scene is pretty cool, and I don't think it was an easy moment to pull off, and I think it's a combination of good things that make me hopeful for her movie at the least.
I'm gonna be quiet on this because I don't need to start a rant on
You are correct. You are correct.
So
I appreciate it very much, sir.
When does Wonder Woman come out again? Is it next summer?
2017.
Too far away. I need it now.
You and me both, Sarah. Looks badass.
All right. Well, I think we've officially talked about everything.
Yeah.
Including past. We did get off the rails. I lied to you at the start. We did end up talking about Wonder Woman.
When have we
Going
never
off
not?
the rails seems to be a theme of the entire Tuscan Shed media.
I don't think
We
we've
try
had
very
a,
hard
like,
not to.
on the rails. No offense. I feel like the podcasts I'm not a part of, like Geek Space 9, are like way more on the rails. No offense to you guys. You're just much chiller when I'm not here and starting shit. I was like, hey Ben, you like that Batman v Superman, right?
And everyone's just like, whoa.
I was being quiet. You guys are having your moment. I was like, I'm just gonna move on.
We're questioning the musical continuity. We're not like saying Batman v Superman's good. I'm not doing that anymore.
I will not say that.
I'll tell you my opinions off air
because
because I don't want to start something.
That's what this is about.
Oh man.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our Save Point podcast for this week. I want to thank Sarah for coming on, being our special guest, our first special guest.
You're quite welcome. I just got really excited about Pokemon Go and wanted to put in my 2 cents.
Well, I'm glad. If you ever get excited about other video games, feel free to stop by. This is an open cast, and we love all of our peoples, so everybody's welcome. And also, I want to thank you, as always, Jack and Peter. You guys are my rock, my steadfast. You are my Wonder Woman theme.
Okay, all right, hold off. If you want to start shit, you can start shit, man.
I'm not starting shit. I love you guys.
Okay.
I want to be included in loving this theme.
Okay.
For the Tussie Shed Media, we want to say thank you very much. Be sure to check out our very nice website, which Jack did an awesome job on. My gang can confirm, as I said, that
It's a really beautiful website.
Sarcasm, and I truly think it's beautiful. I love it. You did a great job. That's TuscanShed.com, and you can check out all of our great shows there. If you love this show in particular, be sure to like and subscribe to our show. We should be available on most formats. I see here that we are on Stitcher, Google Play. We are on iTunes. We should be on most of your podcatchers, so your podcast addicts and the like. So be sure to like and subscribe us. And like us on whatever you got, because it really does help our show get more visible and show up better in searches and things like that. So we really appreciate it. We also have our own Twitter account. That's at SavePointGC. So again, all one word, SavePointGC. So, for Save Point Podcast, we want to say thank you so much. Oh, and of course we have a Facebook. We always got a Facebook. So check us out on all those things.
Yeah.
Come love us and come give us ideas of what to talk about. We would love to answer your questions. We have more specific questions, or like this one, like an open discussion question. We love that. It's awesome. So be sure to do all that. So, for Save Point Podcast, we say thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Need us.